Do you see us as anything more than just a threat to society, disrupting the desire for a homogeneous urban reality? Do you see us while our neighborhoods are dying quietly, and not just from the bloodshedding bullets you only hear about on your TV, not just from the drugs we apparently carry and abuse so perilously? Our neighborhoods are dying quietly from the loud mouths of the media who paint us as angry. But frankly, I know that's really just code for poor black and brown folks who have nowhere else to go. Though I do admit sometimes the violence is real. It really hurts to see good kids catch a raw deal. But the media knows how they choose their appeal, and they make sure any good angle about the hood stays concealed. Now I know this place is not exactly ideal, but do you know how badly it feels when you can't even reveal the neighborhood you call home? You already know how those conversations go. They'll look you one time from your head to your toes and ask you in a rhetorical tone, "Oh, so you're like really from the ghetto?" But do they question how we got here? Does it ever bother you to hear about the continuous suppression and oppression of the bottom tier? Started from the bottom, but most of us are still here. Our mothers' mothers and our fathers' fathers made long journeys only to endure in a land we call Discrimination Nation, only to ensure a chance for their children's liberation. But somehow we landed in this cycle of racialized poverty, living in neighborhoods segregated by these ailing properties built by bricks colored to reflect our black and brown bodies. This is a story about Toronto's rental housing inequality. It has a cyclical nature to it. If you stick with me for a minute or two, I'll try to talk you through it. If you're not afraid, I can even walk you through it. There's a certain way it flows. You see, it starts with racial discrimination, searching for a home in a suitable location, but usually they grill you with this unnecessary interrogation. It's really an abomination, but that's just the way it goes. You call a landlord on the phone saying you're trying to find a home, but they shut you right down because you sound black or brown. If you show up with your kids, they'll say your family's too big, but really, it's just this system that's rigged. This is part two of the cycle, exclusion and survival, where racial biases shut us out socially, where racial biases shut us out spatially. So we form our own communities, vibrant with diversity, where we understand collective pain and adversity. Because the collective is a connected identity, we are all the product of intersectionality. They call it the ethnic ghettos, where we know creativity, love, and vibrancy grows, glows, it flows. But all the media shows are stereotypes, neighborhood fights, the general plight of a place with no light, where every black boy on the block is apparently strapped or trying to flip a pack, ready to steal, ready to deal. But do they speak of the policymakers who deal our lives away to the capitalists who steal the bread off our backs and pack their pretty pennies in their pockets to keep them strapped for life, while we live in strife? These are the lonely lives of everyone who's just trying to survive. Apparently, these are the lifestyles of the poor and dangerous. This is what vilification has done to us. It's all part of the cycle, making way for gentrification to demolish us. But that's all this pro-revitalization discourse, a fancy way to say there's a deep discord between what we actually see in this ward and what the city deems aesthetically adored. A fancy way to say they'll move us away while they build condos that we cannot afford. They say they'll bring us back, and we just have to believe that. But we know, even though it's not our time to go, we bid farewell to our Regent Park and its concrete dreams, to Parkdale and the run-down streets. If the streets could speak, they might not want us to leave, but even the street gets laid down with new concrete. Nothing is the same anymore. We are now outsiders to this neighborhood where they build these invisible dividers. You don't see them, but you feel them. They are these invisible reminders that you don't quite fit anymore. This neighborhood doesn't quite click anymore. We are not exactly the desired demographic anymore. I say anymore, but the reality is we never were. Now, if you understood the cycle, you'll see this is how it goes. Racial discrimination leads to alienation. The formation of our ethnic relations is cause for vilification, only to promote unjust gentrification. Can you see how the media is a great tool of manipulation, filming every possible altercation and frustration in our hoods only to paint us with a negative reputation? But it's really about the racial concentration. They don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation or supply us with the services needed to address this constant exacerbation of poverty that has led us to this massive housing inequality and segregation. But by now, we all know that's just how the cycle goes. Pushed into the next neighborhood where no one would ever know, except the socio-economic problems that always seem to follow, making sure that nothing and nobody has a chance to grow. So, to address the question I initially posed, I would have to answer for you and say no, you do not see us.